Hi everybody, I'm Aaron. I'm with PubSafe, and I'm here to take you through an extensive tour of the PubSafe platform, really to introduce what is going to be in the next release, which is due out in the next couple of weeks. We are releasing a ton of features and functionality that you are going to find super exciting and very beneficial. Whether you're an individual that is out there to help or potentially wants to have a resource to get some help from the community around you, the PubSafe app provides that, but also the PubSafe mobile app interacts with our newly built web portal and can be used by NGOs, FBOs, CERT teams, the government to take help requests and dispatch those help requests, which we call missions, out to people that are part of that organization using the PubSafe mobile app to go provide assistance to somebody else. So the very first thing everybody has to do is get the PubSafe mobile app. So if you go to our website and you look where it says join, you can click here and you'll see that we have links to the different app stores. So you can simply come down here, you can click on either one of these icons, or you can scan the QR code and go straight to the page itself and then install the mobile app. I do want to say that Apple has been restrictive in a sense in that they have not allowed us to update certain functionality. We're working to try to find a way to help them understand the value proposition here versus, what I think they perceive as some kind of risk. And in every situation, every organization, every platform, you're going to have 5% of the situations are going to go sideways, whether you're a police department, a fire department, or a volunteer group. It's not going to matter, those things are always going to happen. So we're trying to focus on what is the overall benefit to citizens, and that's citizens globally. This isn't just a United States platform. PubSafe will work in any country, and we have users globally that has cellular data connection. So that's important to understand. If you're traveling in Europe or you're in Australia and you're hiking or something like that, if you have the PubSafe mobile app and something goes wrong, it gives you a chance to communicate, hey, here I am, and this is what my problem is, and the app will broadcast that information to the members around you. Now, that information also becomes visible on the PubSafe community map. And there's nothing with PubSafe that is just open to the general public. Everybody has to be a member of the PubSafe community. And that starts with getting the mobile app. Now, you can get and use and only ever use the free version of the PubSafe app. If you want to interact with the web portal as a member of an organization or an NGO, then you've got to upgrade to some of the paid services that are available. It's great that we can offer a free version for everybody because everybody can afford free, but also as we invest in continuing to build features and functionality like we have and you will see, that has to be funded. So we charge a very reasonable fee for that. And this platform was built specifically, A, to collect information in real time, B, to share that information in real time with other members. A prime example is Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. If FEMA was getting real-time reports from Puerto Rico before they loaded the first barge, they would have known exactly what was necessary, i.e. food, water, shelter, first aid, transportation, heavy equipment, generators, whatever those things are, and they would have known exactly where to put those things based on the real-time requests that were coming in from Puerto Rico all the way to Washington, D.C. So this new and revolutionary way of getting citizens to become the eyes and the ears of people that are responding to these situations is the wave of the future. And PubSafe was built just for this. So we're going to take a deep dive into the PubSafe platform. We're going to look at the PubSafe mobile app, which you can see here on the right. Now, before we get into the mobile apps, we'll start there, then we'll get into the web portal. I do want to point out the resources on the PubSafe website. First of all, you can come here, and if you don't have a phone, you don't have the app, you can submit a help request here. And when somebody submits a help request, what happens exactly, right? So that information comes into the web portal, and it goes into what we call the PubSafe queue, and we'll take a look at that. But it also broadcasts to people within a certain radius of that user and says, hey, somebody in your area is requesting help. This is their location, and this is what they're asking for. And you can choose to respond or not. 911, EOCs, and emergency managers are not watching the PubSafe platform. Not yet. We hope they adopt it, and we want them to use it to augment the information in the systems that they already have, because we offer some very unique and strong capabilities that will save lives and property. And you'll see that here in a little bit. But um, you know, we want to provide as much real-time information. And in all of the disasters and situations that I've participated in or listened to, the number one requirement is where are they, who do we have in the area? And with the PubSafe mobile app, you can share your location if you want. All right, so we have the ability to share with the community all the time, some of the time, or absolutely none of the time. You can share with a team, or you can share with an organization. So there's this whole spectrum of visibility that you have control over at your fingertips. And that's hugely important, because the number one concern for everybody is privacy. So you have the flexibility of setting that privacy based on how you want to operate. If you're operating as part of an organization, you may choose to be only visible to that organization. But if you're out going door to door and you're trying to interact with people during a search mission, you may want to be visible so they know that you're nearby, and they may be at the back of the house and they may see you at the front of the house, and they may come around or start yelling or something when they know that you're nearby, so you can connect. So keep that in mind. So we also have a map, and the map here just shows position information. There's no details associated with this, but and some of these users stay on the map for long periods of time, right? You can see that we only display certain information based on different zoom levels. So that's that's something that we do. So it limits the scope of data that's being queried in the background. So it's a performance thing. But if you click on this type of icon, it's going to say, hey, look, you have to be a member. You have to join. When you join, we validate your phone number, we validate your email, and then we collect information about you that you can choose to make some of it visible to others if you want, i.e., like if you want to share your phone number, you can. You have the option of not sharing your phone number. So, things of that nature. We want to address the security things and make people comfortable in doing something like this. The other thing is that if you choose to allow the app to, use your location information, what happens is when the app is not in use, what we'll do is we'll ping your location every 30 minutes. And that way we're not getting any details. We're not interested in where you're going, what you're doing. It's irrelevant to us. What we want to be able to do, though, is give you alert information, because we've integrated with FEMA, IPAWS, USGS, NOAA, other government organizations that issue notifications based on things that are going on in your area. So if you jump on a plane and fly to California and you are based in Florida, if your alerts are limited to Florida, then you're going to get Florida alerts and you may get caught up in a wildfire situation. But because we have the ability to ping you and say, oh, well, you know what? Now Aaron's in California, let me start sending alerts to him based on where he is, right? So we can provide better information in that respect. So, we have this general map. Next is the join information. You can download the app. There's links to download the app. You don't have to go to the store and try to find it. If you go to the store, just search for PubSafe. Just search in there and look for the PubSafe logo. Or you can come here, you can click on either of these two buttons, you can scan the QR codes. I do have to point out that Apple has been more limiting on what they have allowed us to do for updates. They have got more, I don't want to say issues, but concerns about who responds to help requests. Our position is that 5% of every response has the potential to go bad. It doesn't matter what organization you're in, whether you're an NGO, the police department, the Border Patrol, FEMA, whatever, you're always going to have a percentage of problems. What we are focused on is the 95+% of positive outcomes that are going to help people and animals. And if that 95% includes helping one person, saving a life, rescuing an animal, then we have done our job. We have been highly successful. So we are working on trying to find ways to make Apple satisfied, so citizens and people that choose to join the PubSafe platform get to be the ones that decide how they get help. We don't believe Apple should get that decision, right? If your boat is sinking, as we have had here in Tampa over and over again, I want the closest boat to me to come rescue me. I do not want to wait for a helicopter that might be 45 minutes away, or a Coast Guard cutter which might be 2 hours away, to show up and pick me up out of the water in Tampa, which is full of sharks. So, with the PubSafe platform, when you request help, it broadcasts that help request to other members in the area. Now, PubSafe does require that you have cellular service and data service in order to function. That's just a technology limiting factor that we all have to deal with. If you go 100 miles offshore, it's not going to do you any good. If you go way into the deep outback in Australia, not going to do you any good. But if you're traveling across Europe and you want your parents to know and be able to see where you are, the PubSafe platform is great. If you had a problem in Europe, then it could broadcast to the people around you. I've seen plenty of examples where motorcycle travelers, if they get a flat tire in Argentina, and they get help locally. This is a way to broadcast and request help. And when you do that, it shares your location and it shares exactly what you need. So the people that are looking and receiving that alert can look at it and say, I don't know how to change a tire. I can't go help this guy. Or, hey, I change tires all day long. I'm on my way home. Let me go over there and see if I can help this person out. If you use an alias and don't identify your sex, because we don't communicate that, we don't recommend that you put a picture of your actual self on there, male or female, unless you are comfortable with that. Then there's another layer of safety there. And again, because you have complete control over your visibility, then you've got those options available to you. So, really getting the PubSafe app and playing around with it is the first step in getting familiar with all the functionality. And the vision here is that the PubSafe app gets pre-installed on every phone that's sold, and we create this global network of people that just want to help others. And we're going to have to deal with the bad things that happen, a lot of which we probably even haven't figured out yet. But we're going to have to work on those as they come about, and we're going to stay focused on the positive and take advantage of the initiative that you and I and others have to reach out and help people in my community when something is necessary. So you can get the app here. You can also come here and you can apply for your organization to be able to use the web portal. And the web portal is really built around NGOs, FBOs, CERT teams, government agencies that want to interact with this information. And PubSafe is not a replacement for what the EOC has today. There's too many strong tools and lots of great information the EOC has. But at some point, we hope that government agencies will at least want to monitor what's going on out there, so they can look and see if something's showing up. Is there something hot happening? Is there a hot spot of activity that maybe they're not hearing about just yet through the 911? And we always want you to call 911 first, because we don't do emergencies, we do priority help requests. And you as the user really get to decide, is it a priority or is it routine? So the organization capabilities of the web portal allow you to interact with the mobile app, which really means dispatching a mission from a help request that comes in either through a form or through social media or something like that, and then send that out to somebody that's using the mobile app, and we'll talk more about this. They can then go help somebody, report back the disposition of the request, and then get the next request. So it's a process, this process that goes along. The next thing is that you'll notice if you go here to app levels, we outline all the different levels. We've got completely free, and this is what you can get with free, base, plus, and pro. Pro is where you have to, and this is what you have to get in order to dispatch and utilize all of the web portal features. Base, you get, it's 99 cents a year, just so you're clear, right? This is 99 cents a year to get a little bit more functionality. And then if you want to actually be a responder, and I'll show you a responder icon here real quick. If you want to be designated as a responder but not part of an organization, then you have to step up a little bit more to the plus. And this is the icon of a responder. You see the little star there. This is a citizen. And you can go back and forth between responder and citizen at your choosing, depending on whether or not you want to volunteer or don't want to volunteer, or you have a skill set or don't have a skill set. We don't pre-qualify responders. right? But if you're part of an organization that is using the portal for dispatching, that's the organization's responsibility to determine whether or not A, you're qualified, but B, what should you be doing, or what types of things do they want to send you? We don't pretend to know at that level. So, that's an organization level decision. And then we've got other resources here. The other one I do want to point out is the knowledge base. And the knowledge base is just full of information about how to join members, what are teams, how do they work, what are some of the restrictions and the privacy settings and things like that. So it's very helpful to take a look at that. And then we also have an explanation of the custom help form, which every organization that joins gets their own custom help request form. And when that form is filled out, it takes that information and puts it directly into their web portal so they see it and they can respond to it. If they don't have a chance to respond to it, they can actually release it to the PubSafe queue, what we call the PubSafe mission queue, and any NGO at that point would be able to pick it up and say, hey, I'll run that mission because I have people in the area qualified and available to go. So you can see how what we're doing is we're putting this umbrella to functionality across a large area, multiple organizations that can all go to the same location, and they can start sharing and pushing requests out to others. And as long as the focus always remains on helping people and animals and not hoarding missions so I can keep my guys busy, then we're going to get more and more done over time as more and more people get on the platform. So with that, let's jump over to the mobile app, and you're just going to have to kind of forgive me. I have to look at my phone as I do this. One of the very first things that you see when you log in is a summary of how you are set up, right? So I am in citizen status. I am a member of a team called PubSafe Demo Team. I am also a member of an organization called PubSafe Community. There are no events. An event is like a disaster, so we can connect people to a disaster in the database. And then when universities and additional research and analytics are done, somebody's response activity associated with a particular event can be used to understand how, what, and why people responded. It shows your visibility. So PubSafe Community means everybody that's a member can see my location and my profile with the items that I choose to share. And then I am also sharing the physical activity component of the phone, which really enhances the quality of the information. So we encourage you to do that when you see it. We're not collecting exercise information. That's irrelevant. It's about accelerometer, right? Is the accelerometer moving, which tells us if you're moving, which allows us to better filter unwanted information, like when your phone's sitting still, it doesn't look like it's moving around because we know your accelerometer is not moving. Therefore, we can filter out bad data that you don't want to take a look at. And then you can see that I'm actually on the free version, and you'll see I'll get prompted to do an upgrade here as we're using the app. So if all that looks good, that's great. I hit OK. If not, I would just click the little edit icon on the right. I can change that setting right away. But we want you to be completely aware of how you're configured and what your visibility is. Make sure that you are comfortable. So I'm just going to hit OK, and you'll see it takes me straight to the map. And on the map itself, I am always the black icon. Whether I have a silhouette or a star depends on whether or not I'm registered as a responder or a citizen. I'm currently acting as a citizen, and the black icon indicates my position. So there's no other black icon that looks like that in the system, and that icon is always layered on the top. Now, if there's information below that, which kind of is covered by your icon, then you have the option of coming down here to the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see, with that little black circle with the map on it, you click on that, and those are your map options. And I can click on the My Location option, and you'll see it removes my current position so I can access the information underneath it. Right? So I can now click on that. I zoom in a little bit. Eventually, it brings up and says, okay, well, look, there's 3 users, which might be a family. In my case, it's just the users that I have for testing. Then I can click on one of those icons, and it brings up this info window, and it gives the information that I choose to share. And in this particular information window, You'll notice it shows my public name. It shows my mobile phone number because I choose to share that information. You can actually click to call that person if you're a dispatcher using the web portal or another user. You need to contact that person because maybe they requested help and you need to get to them directly, or you want to send them a text. You can also send them an SMS message. You can get your GPS location right off here. If you have an emergency, you need to report that to somebody else. You can do that. And then you can see down at the bottom there, there's a comment that, hey, look, everything was fine. The last time I did a My Status update was February of 2022. And then there are no open help requests down at the bottom. Let me see, that's a little fuzzy there. Looks like my screen connections. There we go. And then at the bottom, there's also the paper airplane icon. That's the message icon. And if there are certain roles or permissions that you have to have in order to be able to utilize that. So we can just X that out at the top, and then go back here to the map filter. You'll see that we have a quick post icon, traffic issues, accidents, hazards, obstacles. Obviously this is familiar to some of you, but if you get down to the bottom, we have help, active shooter, and an emergency. Emergency you won't see soon. It'll be priority help request. So we have routine help, priority help, and then the ability to report an active shooter. I mean, this is you can get a free mobile app right now for your community and your business that will give you the ability to alert people in your area if there's an active shooter. One of the key things about that, though, if you receive an active shooter notification, you are automatically made invisible, right? We do that in the mobile app. Obviously, you need to be safe and protected from that. So we don't advertise that the app is for emergencies, and like I said, we're changing that. But this is better than nothing. And if you're in a mall or a business complex and somebody in the mall, boom, hits the active shooter notification, hopefully you'll get the alert if you have connectivity, and you can respond accordingly. So those are your options on there. So and these are really kind of shortcuts into other parts of the website. The other thing is that if you are any place in the app and you want to come back to the map, then you've got the map in the top right-hand corner that shortcuts you back. It zooms the map to your location. The I in the top right is your visibility settings. And you can see these are the visibility settings that we have here. You can join teams. If you can't do teams on the free version, but on the base version, which is that 99 cents a year, and then everything up from there allows you to join more teams. You can have more members in your team, right? So what we wanted to do was enable having very, very large teams, so government agencies can respond to disasters, and they can form giant teams of utility companies and responders from other areas, and NGOs, and everybody that they want to have in an area. And it might be 10,000 people, that if they want to join that team, they can get invited to join that team, and then that team can then start operating in a more cohesive manner and sharing information and trusting one another to do certain types of things. Or you can say, hey, look, I only want to be visible to my organization. So an organization is initiated from the web portal. You get invited to the mobile app or through the mobile app, and then you get approved, or final approval is done through the web portal. Because it's very easy to share the invitation, the final approval has to be done on the web portal. So lots of flexibility there. And you go over to the top left-hand corner where the little hamburger icon is next to the word map. You click that and you see that you've got a variety of different options here. This is important that you do take a look at this. First of all, you can go into your profile and you've got good options there. And then you can go into settings, and this is where you set some of your privacy. What do you want to share, not share, that type of thing. So make sure you check out settings. You can send us some feedback if you find something that's broken or is buggy or doesn't work quite the right way. Hit that share or send feedback option and get it back to us and let us know. And we'll take a look at it. If it's a new feature, then we'll consider it and put it on the dev list if it's something that we want to get added down the road. It is important to understand that when you register with the app, you have the option of joining PubSafe as a citizen or as a responder. If you join as a responder, You are going to be required to list any skills you have, and that may be search and rescue training. You may be a doctor. You may be an electrician. Whatever those things are that whatever skills you possess, you can add those to that. And then also, what resources do you have? Do you have an airboat? Do you have an ATV? Do you have a tracking dog? Do you have a drone? Whatever those things are, you'll have to list those as well. And we then use that information in the web portal to try to match a help request to a responder, and then prioritize the responders so the dispatchers can then look at the people that are closest and most qualified to dispatch to a particular help request, right? We're using a lot of logic in there. It's very unique and a great capability, because when you're talking about hurricanes and you've got hundreds of help requests coming at you, dispatchers have got to be able to move very quickly and efficiently to get things done. We go down to the bottom left menu. It says My Status, and we pull that up. This is really so people can post their status like right before a hurricane, when shortly thereafter they may not be able to communicate with family. Hopefully you can go in here and say, hey, look, I'm evacuating and I'm going to shelter ABC. I'll make contact as soon as I can. Everything is fine right now, and you submit that, and that's what shows up in that info window, right? A lot of times people are getting, NGOs are saying, hey, can you do a wellness check for me? Well, if you update your status and they can see that, hey, your status was updated just like an hour ago, then there's going to be far less concern over, where you are and what's going on. So that's the bottom left menu. Next is the help request. And you'll see at the top, you can scroll left to right through different options here. And this is important because we take the information that you report and we put it into a database. We don't let you just type things out. There's an option for free-form comments to add pertinent information, but we want the initial help request to go within certain categories, so we can then match that information with potential responders, and then we can use it for analytics down the road, so we can see how many help requests did we get, where were they located, was there something unique about it, are we getting a request for a lot of fresh water from this particular area, or do we have a lot of transportation requests in this particular area. Everybody remembers the Superdomes situation in Louisiana and how bad that was. If they had the PubSafe mobile app, they could have gone here and said, hey, we need transportation, we need it for a lot of people, and we need it now because the situation's terrible. They could have taken some pictures, and that information, when it got to the EOC, they could have responded completely differently because they had more good information which to utilize. So that is more of a routine help request. And again, at the top, you select your category. Then you come to the bottom and you select a subcategory, and we'll just do this. We'll hit next. It asks me, hey, do I want to take a picture? You can add some pictures, video, short video, a couple pictures, or you can actually leave a voice recording. You can skip that. And it says, hey, look, make a comment. Give me something here that doesn't fit into a checkbox. Tell me something about what's going on. The other thing is that we only want to keep real-time information. So we offer to users to expire information based on what your feeling is, what's your opinion of how long this information is going to be valid. Is it 3 hours, 1 hour, 90 days? Well, 3 hours would be something like, maybe there's a car accident, right? And the highway shut down. Probably in 3 hours it's going to be cleared up. If you have a bridge that is washed out, then it's going to be a while before they get around to repairing your bridge. So you might want to post something that's going to be persistent on the map and available to others for 90 days. And then once you hit continue, then it will post it, share it, and then it will expire it in the appropriate amount of time. Very unique feature to keeping information pertinent to the situation. Next is SITREPs, and for those of you that are military, a SITREP stands for Situation Report. Sharing information is hugely important with the people that are trying to respond and provide resources to you. A SITREP can be, hey, there's nothing going on in my area. That's still important. If you don't have that information, people are going to get sent to go take a look to report back what's going on. You know, if 15 people in the neighborhood say, hey, we're high and dry, no problems here, no wildfires, no flooding, whatever, then you know what? People are going to look at that and say, we don't need to go over there. We're going to go over here because there's a bunch of people over here reporting a flood, or saying the fire is getting close, or saying the tornado tore through this part of town but not that part of town. So sit reps are a great way of sharing all different types of information. And we have humanitarian things in here because we believe organizations like the World Health Organization and UNICEF and other great organizations like that will be able to utilize the PubSafe platform to report on situations globally. And when you report sit reps, you also have the options of sharing in different ways. We do have a special section for SARS and NGOs. So we got some terminology specific to them, as you can see here. So we encourage you to get in there and check that out. You can report power outages. You can also report crime. So this was actually designed for the Florida State Attorney after hurricanes. How do they report? Hey, I've got a crime, right? What do they do? Well, they've got people sitting in a call center. They're taking phone calls, and if you can't get through because people are price gouging or there's things going on, you're out of luck. Well, we can report as much information as people want to put into the platform, and then the government could go take a look at it and say, oh, I see a bunch of crimes being reported here. You could take a picture of the receipt for the hotel bill that went up 600%, or the gas price that was tripled for no apparent reason, and then they could follow on and investigate that after looking at the post that you made here. After you select something, the process is the same. You get to take pictures, and then you get to make comments, and then you get to select how long that information is going to be visible. And then moving on, we go to locations. And locations, this is really a great feature in that we've got some really good options here. And this is where we start to introduce commercial businesses. I'll just say Lowe's and Home Depot are the two that are near my house. And when we have hurricanes in the Tampa area, I am highly, highly impressed that those two retail businesses stay open as late as they do. Their employees are there to provide help and assistance and plywood and nails and whatever when they've got homes themselves that they need to go to. So what we thought we would do is include a retail option for updating information. So what you don't want to do is drive to your nearest home store and you find out they don't have generators, right? If you're looking for generators, or they don't have plywood. Well, as a retail business owner, I could go on here and I could do an update that says, hey, look, we're open and we've got emergency stock available. Under the comment section, I could say, hey, look, I've got a truck of plywood coming 3 o'clock on Wednesday. And that way you can decide whether or not you want to be there for that load or you want to try to go someplace else. And then they can update that information in real time so people in their community can see what's going on. Obviously, that also ties into organizations that are doing aid stations and relief points and insurance processing and things like that. They can come in here and they can select that type of information. They can update the shelter information. Hey, we're full, don't come here. Or this hospital is full, don't come here. Last thing you want to do is drive 15 minutes in one direction to go to a hospital that has no room for you and they send you away when you could have driven 20 minutes in the other direction and had access to medical care. So location information is hugely important as part of this process. That being said, if we go down here in the bottom right hand corner, we have the More menu, and this is a part that's been really in development recently. So we have the ability to add alerts and notifications, FEMA alerts, and as we start pumping out alerts from the web portal, you'll be able to see those listed so you can go back and reference those. We can go in here, we can click on change role, and this is where we can switch between responders and citizens. When we are in a responder status, these colors indicate what I'm available to do. Hey, I'm on a mission, or my mission's complete, my mission's incomplete. That's telling the dispatcher on the web portal that, hey, look, this help request needs to be assigned to somebody else because this responder is not going to be able to solve that problem. Or, hey, look, I'm on break, I'm exhausted, I can't go any farther, I can't do any more. I'm going to take a break, don't send me any more missions for now. or hey, I'm done, I'm heading home, take me off the list. You need to start looking for somebody else to take over. All right, so in here we also have mission status, which we talked about, responder status, mission status, communication, the organization, what messages are we getting, sending and receiving, haven't had any here. We're about to do another update that is going to encompass more. So here's some test messages that you see in here, going back and forth. All the messages that are sent for anybody inside of organization are actually stored and made available through the web portal for a historical record and accountability within an organization. In an organization, you can join multiple organizations. So a lot of volunteers will join 2 or 3 different organizations, and with the pro version of the app, you can actually select to move between organizations, and your information will not cross or cross-pollinate between those organizations. So you may be operating with one search and rescue team today and say, hey, look, that group's done, they're going home. Hey, I'm going to join up with this one over here. Boom, you jump in, and now you're part of that organization after you go through the invite process. We have teams. Teams are strictly a mobile app function. We don't have teams that interact with the web portal. That's by design. And when you have an organization, in essence, there's a team in the background that's happening, right? But when you actually go to set up a team, like you see here, I'm connecting with another app user, and we're saying, hey, we're going to form a group. So think of like a family unit. We want to track each other. We want to know the status, or we're a search and rescue team, but we don't have a web portal account, to utilize. So we're just going to form a team, or hey, maybe I'm part of an NGO that has dispatching, but my little unit is going to be operating in this 1 square mile area, and we want to communicate amongst ourselves. So we're going to form a team that allows that interaction to happen, right? So you can join teams, create teams, and when you do a join, you can be through QR code, SMS, or email message, or you can type in the code directly into the mobile app, and then you get connected, and you can see who's there. And the other thing to notice here is the team limits. PubSafe Pro, you can see that you can join up to 2 teams. Right, so the max is 2. It shows that I have joined one of the 2, which leaves me 1 available team to join. And then the number of users or members that can be part of that team is also limited based on the subscription. So, it gives you this flexibility to move back and forth and kind of sideways with all these different things. So when you join a team, here's some of the team settings that you can see here, right? Member count 2 of 5. Those are getting upped a little bit, so there would be more. Allow for larger groups depending on pro level or otherwise. So anyway, good information here. You can see how it works. So we looked at organization teams, volunteer hours. One of the things that we did with the mobile app is we allowed tracking of your volunteer hours. And when you do that, you can say, hey, what organization am I volunteering for? So you can select that from this first screen. And is there an event that I am volunteering for? So is it a particular hurricane? So when that information is stored and available and made available to the web portal for your organization, and the organization wants to turn that information in, they have a good record of everything that's going on. So you can come in here on the first screen, what type of group are you with? Let's say an NGO. I can hit next. It'll ask me to fill out all my pertinent contact information, so I would do that. On the next screen, it's going to say, hey, where were you and what did you do? And then take some pictures to prove to me that you were out there making it happen. And then once you submit that, then it comes through and ends up in the web portal. If you've associated or if you have an organization that you are a member of, then you'd be able to choose that, and then it shows up in the portal. So that's a huge administrative burden that can get lifted. So whether you're doing training and you want to record who attended different training sessions, you can create an event. We have what are called local events, which you'll see in the web portal. If you create a local event in the web portal that for your organization, and the user selects that organization in the mobile app, then you would see that particular organization event in the mobile app on the list of options. If you look in the top left-hand corner of the application itself in the blue bar, it says event, public, and then none, right? So I haven't selected an organization or an event to choose from, but I can if I click on that blue bar, and then it brings me into here and says, hey, look, do I want a public event or do I want organization events? And then if I click on that, then what are the event options that are available to me, right? And I can select that. So if I do that and I go back, oops, I didn't hit save. You have to hit save at the bottom. So we go in here and we say, hey, look, I want an organization event, and a search party is just a good example because that's local. It's very specific to an individual organization. It's not something that's global, regional, multi-agency, multi-NGO type effort. So once you get done, you scroll to the bottom, you hit Save Settings. It tells you, hey, look, this worked. And now in the blue bar at the top, you see whatever I'm doing is going to be associated with the search party John Doe. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and take a look at what's inside of the PubSafe web portal, where NGOs and other organizations can go to manage their field volunteers in response to help requests. So the first thing you want to do is you can go to login. And by the way, this is after you've already registered your organization's been approved, and you come in here and you will use the same credentials that here in the web portal as you use in the mobile app. Everybody has to have the mobile app in order to use the web portal, and you have to have pro mode or higher, which would be government or enterprise, in order to be able to use the organizational functionality in the web portal. So I went ahead and already logged in, and this is what you're going to see when you first log in. You can see we have users that are around the world, and the users that we have on the screen here are the ones that have chosen to remain active. You do not have to keep your user active. We are a new organization. Obviously, our membership is going to grow dramatically as this functionality gets released, but you can choose as part of your visibility security settings whether or not you want to leave your user on the map after you log off, or you can have it removed, or you can set a time period for how long you want it to display. So the question is, why would you want to do something like that? Well, if you're facing down a hurricane or some other major catastrophe, or you're getting ready to head out into maybe the outback, or you're hiking through Europe or something like that, and you want your last known location to be visible to family, friends, and potential rescue people, then you would want to make your last known location on the map even a little bit more persistent. So you might sign off on the mobile app, and it's closed the app. It's not doing anything, but your last location is known. So if power was to get lost, if cell communication was to go down, your last known location is available, which allows for faster search efforts to start from your last known location, right? That's why we did it. Over time, obviously, membership's going to grow. More people participate in the process. The more users that we have, the better the response is going to be. If you post a help request for something simple like changing a tire, and there's only 2 people in the area, well, your odds of getting help are fairly low, right? So we want to encourage people to join, even if they're just joining with the free app. Hey, more power to them. Love to have them. The upgraded features are really for people that want to do more. On the right-hand side of the map, you can see that we have weather options. You can look at the current weather radar, but you can look at where's the weather going to be in the next 30 minutes, which is great. So, if you've got teams in the field, you could use the future scan radar, and when that weather gets to them, they have about 30 minutes before whatever you're seeing predicted is actually going to be on top of them. So that's a great feature. Weather is such a big safety factor that it's hugely important to include in a platform like this. Currently, we only have weather radar in the United States. We are looking at other open source options for global weather, and we definitely have plans to incorporate that down the road. We can look for or we can save map locations, and we put this in just for dispatchers. Dispatchers might be located in, let's say, Boston, and they're working a wildfire in California or a hurricane, in some other country. And when you log in, we're using your IP address to locate your general map view, which then becomes problematic for people that are working in these other areas. So you can change the map location. You can zoom in to, maybe this area if there was something going on here, maybe some flooding or something. And then you could come in here and you could give this a name, and you could call it OK City and save it. And now if you want to come back to this, you'll be able to jump back to this. Right now, this is actually saved in your browser, so if you clear your browser, it's going to delete this. Eventually, we'll get this into a database that's more persistent, and you'll be able to keep this. But that's that feature. You can then also select people on the map, and the selection tool offers a couple different things, and it really depends on what level of access you have, what type of organization you are. Pro NGO users and organizations can only communicate with their members, right? So, if you're the Cajun Navy and you got 20,000 members, you'd be able to communicate with all 20,000 of your members. You could draw a big circle around an area, like a big geographic region, and you could send everybody a message. You could do just like this. You want to exclude that guy for some reason, boom, now it builds this list, and you can then add, remove people to the list, and it may show some people on this list that are not part of the organization, but when it goes to send, it's going to exclude those people. If you're a government agency, we allow government agencies to message any user. And I want to point out that we removed all of the financial issues for government agencies to get on board, right? We do not charge the government for using the portal. We charge the users, and we don't even charge all the users. You can still get the free version of the app and pay nothing, and the government would be able to message the free users, but the ones that are getting involved in using some of this advanced functionality are the ones that are essentially crowdfunding the organization's platform to be able to access this type of functionality. Excuse me. So the member group or community is actually funding the organization's use. We didn't want NGOs to have to constantly work on fundraising. Volunteers are there, they give their time, they give some of their money, and by subscribing, they can come and go, they can join and cancel the subscription as they want to, as they participate in the process, et cetera, et cetera. So you can select individuals, and when we look at what we did, this is really special, and I have to brag here for a minute, because this was created simply because there was a sheriff in California that was talking about he had a notification service, and that notification service wasn't used as a wildfire was moving through an area, and because that notification service only alerted the entire county at a single time. And I said, absolutely not, we could do better than that. So we can create what's called a corridor, and we can get very, very granular with who we select. If we wanted to select just a single individual, we could do that. If we want to select people in front of a tornado or in front of a flash flood, we can select those very specific individuals, members that are on the app, and we can send them a notification. If they're paying attention to the alerts on their phone, then they would be alerted to this impending issue that is on the way. So we can go over here, and we can also look at what different alerts do we want to turn on and off, show on the map and not show on the map. We have filter functionality for select all, deselect all, what type of responder status. You want to see like every responder that is in mission ready status or on break, because you need to reach out to some of those guys and say, hey, I know you're on break, but I've got a really important mission here that's not far from you. Let me filter the map information so I can see exactly what's necessary. This is showing your location based on your IP address. It's not 100% accurate, but it's, and it also depends on how you're connecting, right? So if you go down here one more, then we can go to open some settings. This is the map refresh. We can also show labels on the map, hide and show labels. So you don't have to open up every user to try to figure out who's there. And if you filter the map by your organization members and then you put the labels on, now you know who everybody is and where they are. Super helpful. This is clearing the map. So if you're drawing on the map and then say you right click and you want to draw a polygon or something, point and click, right? And then when you get done, you can close it by clicking the pin, and then if you want to clean the map, then you can hit that and it'll sweep the map for you. So and then this is also if you want to flag map posts that have pictures. So if people are out there doing sit reps and things like that, and they're adding media, we can pull those out of the other posts that are out there. So then you know which ones to click on, so you get a picture of what's going on. You don't have to click on every single post, because think about this: you've got a massive flood like we're experiencing in Kentucky, and people are taking lots of pictures, doing lots of posting, but you're not sure of the ones in this area, which ones actually have pictures. And those pictures are hugely important, because it's one thing when somebody tells you, oh, the water is up to our necks here. It's another when you get a picture and the guy is standing up in the water and he's up to his neck, or you can see the road sign and the water's to the bottom of the road sign. That is very telling, and is something that is going to be much more credible to the Emergency Operations Center if they are watching, and hopefully they are, and understand that they can gain situational awareness. At least responders and NGOs that are going to, volunteers that are going to be going into that area will look at that and say, hey guys, we need a boat. We can't just walk into this area. We're not going to be effective in the rescue. It's going to be, hazardous. Let's get the right resources to go tackle this particular rescue. So we are focused on making the map the primary tool for, the relief and rescue operations for the NGOs. Next on the list is a directory, and what we found was there's a lot of people trying to find phone numbers and understand who's the sheriff in this area, or who's the local NGO, or what are some of the church organizations that are volunteering in this particular area. And nobody knows how to get a hold of them, or so-and-so gets that information, but somebody else doesn't know that they got it. So what do? They try to create a spreadsheet. So we said we've got to eliminate these spreadsheets in the cloud and provide organizations the tools to store that information in the cloud and access that information either in one of two different ways. One is to share that globally. So you might have a rescue or like a CERT team in Australia that wants to put their name in the directory. Hey, you go in here, you enter it, you make it a public organization, you add it to the PubSafe directory, or you can make it a private organization. So you fill in all this info, and then when people are trying to operate in a particular area, they can come in here and they can search through the information that is in here and look up Bisman, Australia, and find who the locals are there that they can then coordinate with. So if you're getting ready to fly a team into Haiti, is there somebody on the ground already that is established that you can communicate with? If you're flying into Puerto Rico, Bahamas, any place that you're going, having an organization and organizational information that is public to the PubSafe community is what we've done in the directory. And then you can also message the contacts directly from here, right? Next is analytics and reports. This is an area of development. As we collect data, what we want to do is start working on giving you feedback on what your organization is doing. How many rescues or missions did you guys have? What type were they? How many were marked as completed or incompleted? How long did these things take to get done, right? So you can basically set a standard for what you're trying to accomplish and work with your teams to get better. We want to give you those tools to be more effective, and when you're more effective and you're more efficient, it costs you less money and your outcomes are better, right? Those are the things that we want to provide to you. Next is volunteer hours. We looked at volunteer hours in the mobile app. Well, what you do is you come in here and you start looking at that information in the web portal side, and we don't have any particular data in here for you to look at, but you can see how this would work. Anybody that volunteers and they select your organization, when they enter their volunteer information, that's going to load up in here, and now you have a record of that. You can export it to Excel, you can put it in PDF or print it. But most importantly, if you're trying to justify funding, raise money, things like that, you can go in here and you can add up all these hours. You can say, hey, look, we had 8,000 people respond to this. We invested 45,000 man hours. We can verify it all because we've got pictures and we've got GPS coordinates and we've got all this other great information that we can use to back up what we're turning in here. We've got a couple other views here for volunteer information. We've got a summary, and then we also have some raw data. So lots of good information there. Next, we have a contact manager. The other thing that we realized was not only are NGOs and FBOs and CERTs trying to keep track of important contacts in different geographic markets based on where the disaster or the help is needed, but there also needs to be a mechanism for the organizations to store information, contact information on volunteers, right? That is internal to the organization. So your members and people that maybe they don't want to be members, but they're still contacts. You can enter those people into the contact manager, and that makes it accessible to everybody within your organization. We've just got some demo users in here. So the other nice part is once they're in your contact manager, they are a member of your organization. You can then send them a message if they've got the mobile app, right? You can message them right from here. So that's super convenient. And this is a chat function that you can see. You can send them an org invitation. So if they just signed up and they're not actually a member, but they're a contact, they're still in like contact status, you can then send them an invite where they can then be brought into the organization. That's the type of thing that we want to do. We want to make that easier. We're actually going to be working on the ability to give you a custom link that you can put onto your website, into your emails, and things like that, into your social media, where if somebody wants to volunteer, they can just click the link, and when they fill out that form, it goes straight into your account, into your organization in PubSafe. So you don't have to do spreadsheets or anything like that. And they instantly go in there. They go in as a contact. Then you'd have to do the invite process to help them to join, because they have to have the PubSafe mobile app and upgrade to Pro in order to interact with an organization. So this is hugely, hugely important. It's not quite a CRM. We don't have all the functionality of a CRM. We will move it in that direction, but now it's simply storing that information. So when somebody says, hey, I need to reach Tom, does anybody have Tom's phone number? Somebody like a dispatcher can go, boom, here, look it up, and then they can relay that information to the field. So another great feature that is really going to help improve the efficiency and long-term organization capabilities. Next, we have dispatching. This is really the core of PubSafe. Everything else that we do is in support of this concept of being able to ingest help requests that come from a variety of different sources. We look at that information, and then we turn around and we find a responder that is ready, willing, able, perhaps has the resources, the skills, and the experience, those three things, to effectively respond. Now, it's not always possible to find somebody that has those three things that are perfect alignment. Matter of fact, it's probably hardly ever going to happen. But, responding to a help request may be just getting there and holding somebody's hand, right? It doesn't have to be you're doing an open heart cardiac massage or something. No one's doing that kind of crazy stuff. You're going there and you're trying to do what you can, and if you can resolve the problem, that's great. If you can't, you're providing aid and comfort until the professionals get there, because we always want members to call 911 first, or their local emergency service if you're in another country. So those people are en route, but again, the nearest help might be a block or two or a mile or a property over, and they can get there much faster. Maybe they help you stop some bleeding, or maybe you're going down with heat stroke or something like that. They can bring you some water. You've got an animal trapped in a fence. They can help you with that. You got a flat tire. It doesn't matter, right? You can help until more qualified help is available, if it's needed, right? So how does information get in here? There's actually three ways that information or help requests come into the platform. And the first one is that we provide you a unique URL for your organization. So when your organization applies, is approved, you get a URL, we give you HTML embed code, just like you would with a YouTube video, and you can use that in every place that you want to. More power to you, right? So when somebody fills out that help request form, which is in essence the same help request form that we have here, this help request form and any place that PubSafe collects help requests goes into what we call the PubSafe queue. The PubSafe queue is visible to all organizations, right? So if we collected up 100 help requests and we had 200 organizations, there would be 200 organizations that could look at those and say, I've got this one, I've got somebody nearby, I'm going to, dispatch to that. Now, obviously, what we're trying to do is create a platform where communication and help requests are not siloed in a particular organization, because we're collecting those help requests and then sharing them to the people that can get things done. It's that umbrella communication and information sharing process that we want to offer. Now, if somebody takes a help request and they say, hey, I've got this, they assign it to their organization, and that help request does not get assigned to a mission-ready responder in a certain period of time, then that help request is automatically going to go back into the PubSafe queue. And we control how long that takes. And we can look at the PubSafe queue and we can say, queue's getting short. Hey, that's great. We can set, what we call dwell time. Dwell time at one level, or the PubSafe queue is getting really long, and we need to change the dwell time to give NGOs more chance to dispatch, to these help requests. So we want to try to load balance the help requests that we collect. Now, when you get your own URL, that help request in that form is essentially this form here, right? We use one form to feed the platform. And this form actually reflects the help request in the mobile app. These fields are the same, right? We're mapping that data, whether it's coming from a website or the mobile app. So we're mapping that to fit it into the database so we can put it into our process. And those are called org help requests, and they go into the org queue. So you can look at just what your organization has collected up, right? And if you say, oh, hey, we banged out and got all of our help requests done, boom, let me add the PubSafe queue to this view, and dispatchers can then look at this information and they can say, okay, who is this? What do they need? Where are they located? In this example here, it's me and both. I'm the victim and the responder because I've got two users, through my test accounts in the same area. But, I can copy this information if I need to email it or text it to somebody else. I can click to call this person to check on them. I can look and see, hey, what exactly do you need? Oh, I need baby supplies. Okay, right. I don't have any notes just because this is an example, and this is mission created. And it was 1 day and 36 minutes ago. So we're logging that information because, again, we want to measure how long it takes for an organization to actually respond. And I think what we'll see globally through the data is what we're going to see is these response times, as everybody gets more and more efficient, those response times are going to go lower and lower. And we're going to work with different universities to study this data in the background and anonymize data in the background to try to build trends and models and understand how people in NGOs operate in order to make improvements and recommendations to any NGO that wants to participate, but also to government agencies. And how can we find ways for NGOs and FBOs and CERTs to do a better job at sharing information, right? A city manager told me, he said, this thing is great because what this allows to happen is the volunteer groups can go handle the lower priority activities instead of sending a police car out or a fire truck out to go out and find out that, hey, this is a cat stuck in a tree. We don't need a fire truck for this, right? We need the fire trucks at the burning homes, the accidents, the collapsed buildings and things like that, doing those major rescues. And the NGOs and the FBOs can do what they can. And that, that's a moving, it's moving space, because at times Like in Hurricane Michael, there were 1,000 help requests that the government couldn't get to. Well, during times like that, the FBOs and the NGOs need to be able to do more of the more serious stuff. And as that list gets worked down, now they start to shift back over to the center and do less emergent or less priority help requests and work more on the recovery and the searching. That's the methodical searching that they're good at doing, the aid stations and stuff like that. So this is a fluid environment, and we need to have a global umbrella environment that we can share this information to get that process done. So when we look at that, we can say, all right, we're going to select this. The mission was already created. So we can go here and we can say, all right, well, who are the responders in the area? Well, let me drop this down and see. Okay, well, maybe Aaron's not the right guy. Let's look at the D. Arnold 2. All right, he's got skills. He's an aid worker, general public, civil air patrol. He's got a chainsaw generator, hand tools, portable. All right, well, they need baby supplies. Really, anybody's going to be qualified for this. If it was a tree on a house or, pastures getting flooded, animals need to be rescued, things like that, you'd want to look at this. And this is where we're using background logic to match the mission-ready responders to the help requests. So what we're trying to do is put the most qualified, closest responder in mission-ready status near or on the list at the top. So dispatchers can be more effective at picking people off the list. They don't have to go through 50 responders that might be there. They start at the top of the list, and that match is being done for them. Now, they might go 5, 10, 15 down the row. I don't know. But we want to improve their ability to scan through that data and find the best fit possible. All right, so let's say we pick DRO2, and then we can go over to the next step in this process is the missions tab, and I don't have an example for you, but what happens is you check the box next to the responder that you want to send this mission to, and that responder, first of all, they have to be in responder status, which means if you get the free version of the app or even the base version, which is the 99 cents a year, you cannot be a responder, right? What we want to do is start to whittle people down that are in that responder status. So the minimum that you can be to be a responder is in the plus status, right? You may not be a member of an organization, but you may have skills that are applicable to to rescue situations or help situations. So that gets sent out to the PubSafe app. It notifies the user on the app. That user in responder status can then say, hey, look, I'm comfortable doing this. I'll go ahead and accept this. Or they can look at it and say, this is baby supplies. I've got too much other stuff to do. They can decline it, and that can go to somebody else, right? Once that is sent out to them, then it comes back and it's sitting in this pending status, right? So once they accept, then it becomes an active mission, and away they go. So that's the process. Now, when the responder is on a mission, they're going to be prompted every 4 hours for an update. So what we don't want is people forgetting, right? So every 4 hours, we're going to prompt them and say, hey, look, what's going on? The other thing is they can't get another mission until they complete the mission that they're on. And they can complete a mission by not completing it. They can mark it not complete. They can mark it complete. And then they can enter notes on that mission. And that information is stored here in the portal for future reference and use, right? So, it's a way of keeping this operational log of everything that's going on. And just so you can see here on the map, this is the symbol for a help request. What we're doing here is flagging the nearest, one of the responders here in that responder status, and away they go. We can also push directions through Google Maps, and we can also open up a chat with them as a dispatcher. I may need to check with them and say, hey, what's going on? Give me a status update. I'm still getting calls from the requestor. What's happening, and they can chat back and forth, and that chat is all logged. So this is a very complicated part of this process. Lots and lots of logic went into this to get it where it is. It's going to continue to get better. I'm sure we don't even know we're short yet, but we will figure it out with your feedback, and we'll continue to improve. So dispatching is the #1 function of the PubSafe portal, in my opinion. Next, we have posts and alerts. Alerts are just that record of alerts that the system has received. If you want to go back and just look through this, I mean, we're capturing the data. We might as well show it to you, right? We can look at all posts. And it looks like we don't have any particular posts, so let's see. Dispatch here, media, priority requests. We'll add all, and we'll hit apply. Nothing's pulling up, but you can get the idea. One thing I do want to point out, let me go back to dispatching real quick. And we built this, quite honestly, specifically for the Border Patrol. They're not a customer, but we want them to be a customer because we think we've got a great opportunity for the agents that are out along the border to track one another, to request help for safety, to improve coordination in their efforts. And the big thing is, once you get foot mobile, how are you, remaining safe? Because somebody back at the central monitoring station can watch you and see, oh, he's down in this area, or at least the last known location was, his vehicle was here, and then he got out, he walked away from the vehicle, and then maybe dropped cell service or something like that. But we know where to start if something were to go wrong, right? So let's zoom in on a particular area. We don't have anybody in this particular area, but let's say you're working the border down here and you see something, or somebody reported a bunch of people crossing the border, or a helicopter sees a group of people crossing the border. A dispatcher can right click and they can go dispatch here. And what this does is it opens up a mini form. It's not a help request because no one's actually requesting help, right? It's really to go investigate something, right? We don't think it's life-threatening. We're going to pick a responder out of the organization, and then we're going to type a description, and we're going to hit submit. So this may go back to a dispatcher, at the central station, because this is actually being reported from a helicopter flying over, looking down on something. Maybe they see something down in the brush that looks suspicious. They got their phone out and they boom hit it, and then they send this back to somebody to go take a look at it, right? That's a function that we built just for the Border Patrol. It's also important to understand that with government organizations, when a government registers with PubSafe, all their users are automatically put into a mode where visibility is only within the government organization. We understand the need for privacy and things like that with the government and operations, and obviously the government can't be in the public member view at the same time as the Border Patrol, because it won't take long for people crossing the border to start looking at it and saying, oh, well, here's the Border Patrol. We can see exactly where they are. So we have the controls on that visibility as a default, as a government organization, to be able to do that. So the government level is one that we are still working on. We're building it into the background. That functionality now for the visibility only to your organization is there. We haven't released a government version of the app, so theoretically, or not theoretically, you would be able to join as a pro user and then change your visibility to organization only as a member of an organization. So that's hugely important to this overall process. So next we would go down and look at communication, historic communication, what chat messages have been going on, what messages have been sent. So chat is one-to-one, messaging is one-to-one or one-to-many that are out there. And messaging is used or is enabled by selecting people from the map. They show up in the list, and then you message those people. Chat, you click the chat icon on their information, and then you go from there, right? The next thing that we have is SAR tracking, and a lot of times we see volunteer groups come together, and let's say there's a lost child, and it's really one of the best examples. This happens on a regular basis. Let's zoom into Louisiana, because we know Louisiana and the bayous and things of that nature. We'll just kind of use this visual as an example. Matter of fact, we'll use this open space right here as the example. So let's say you have a lost child, wandered off from the hunting camp, and now volunteers are showing up to try to find this child because it's dead of summer, it's hot, and it's a swamp. right? So you get 300 people that show up for this search party. These people are from everywhere. They're the community members. They are NGOs from all walks of life. And somehow you have to have command and control. Well, we built the PubSafe app to be able to manage this process, right? We very specifically went after this process, and they can all get the PubSafe mobile app. They can upgrade to Pro. They don't have to join the organization. What happens is the incident commander forms a team, and that team code is distributed through the 300 plus volunteers. And the distribution of that team takes place by sharing a QR code, can be through invitation. If those volunteers were to join the organization, they could be sent an SMS or an email. And really the most practical way is you share it to a couple people through the QR code. Everybody in the crowd starts using their phone to scan the QR code, and then it takes them to the PubSafe mobile app, and then they join through that process. So in a very short period of time, now everybody is on the same team. So when the search is conducted, you really want to know where everybody is just for their own safety. You want to make sure you've got command and control. You don't want people wandering outside the search area, wasting time or getting lost or potentially getting hurt. And if the people on the search team are a member of the organization, then you can come in here to the SAR tracking menu and you can look to see where they have traveled. And here we just have an example from around town where we selected a date range. And what we've done is started out with a lower resolution. And we do that for speed, right? If you can imagine, if you had 300 people trying to pull very detailed information, it's going to take a little bit to bring that information back. So we start with a low resolution to make sure that we have the right data set, and then we have options to increase the resolution based on what we need to get the job done. And obviously, the more resolution we add to the equation, the longer we're going to wait for the return to come back. So you can see here we have a little trip in the local area, and we can come over here and we can just uncheck that box, and we can say, hey, look, go ahead and apply that. And you can see we go to a very detailed track. And this map is zooming because we have another user up in this area, but let's zoom in on this one. And you can see the resolution here is very high. So imagine somebody walking a field back and forth, back and forth. You'd be able to see that track information going back and forth across the field. You'd be able to tell whether or not that user or the users that were working that area actually traversed around a swamp area or searched through the swamp area. Then you can come over here and you can check that again, and you can say, all right, well, I don't need it quite that detailed. Let me step it up or spread out the distance a little bit. And I'm going to spread the distance out, but I'm going to lower the time interval by a minute. And let's hit that and see what happens. So it comes back. Now we go back down here. We say, okay, all right, so that doesn't look very good. So I'd probably, maybe take this the other way, hit apply, and then see what happens. Still not a great track because our time interval is spreading it out. So let's move it to a minute. Hit it again. All right, now I can see I'm already seeing a better track. But ultimately, if I want the most detail, I uncheck that box and I just hit apply and hang on tight and get all the detail that's possible. Now, it is important to understand that users cannot be tracked going back in time greater than 40 or 96 hours. And the reason for that is if you're doing a search and rescue, there's no reason to track people past that. It's a privacy thing. It's a security thing. We want to, reduce any opportunities for abuse, things like that. But we do log a lot of information that could indicate whether or not a user was potentially abusing the system. So, everybody just needs to be careful and use the platform exactly what it's for. And obviously, users can go invisible. A user's settings always override every other setting, right? If I want to go invisible, it doesn't matter what my organization wants. That user is not going to be visible. They're not going to be participating in the process. So keep that in mind. If you can't see somebody, they've probably set themselves to invisible. Next on the menu is resources, and this is just a large list of resources such as training, housing information, IRS resources, pet assistance. It links up to the PubSafe knowledge base. As we've seen, we've got a glossary of terms. We've got a variety of different mapping resources here. These are the things that we anticipate dispatchers are going to need fairly consistently. Different organizations, you need to get a hold of FEMA or look something up. Hey, they're right here at your fingertips. One of the ones that is most important is the weather, and we've got a variety of different weather maps and resources here, so you can use that information to make the best decision possible for what you want to get done, the environment that you're in, and keep people safe. Next is we have the account. We have a list of missions, and I don't think we're going to see anything here. Let's see. We certainly didn't complete any missions. Let's go back last month and see. Okay, so we've got some test missions. We had 144 total test missions. 19 of those were marked completed. 61 of those were canceled. Good statistics to understand what's going on. Click on this, and there's a little mission message. These are going to be short since these were just tests. And you can see, you can look and say, okay, this was not completed. Who the dispatcher was, who the responder was, what was the map post, things like that. Another way of looking at information. Then we move into administration. Then you have your organization profile here. You can find yourself on the map, who the contacts are. This is the organization-specific help request form that I had mentioned, right? And you can copy the embed code to your clipboard, where you can then embed it into your website, right? So, and then you can also put your logo in here, so that logo shows up in there, and you kind of make it your own. Back at the top, we have a telematics tab, and we have recently done an integration with the GeoTab GPS tracking and telematics platform, which will allow third-party telematics vehicle and asset tracking data to come into the PubSafe app and be displayed in the app. So a lot of government agencies and organizations today have vehicle tracking and asset tracking. And when they deploy to a central or regional event, the incident commander doesn't have visibility over everybody. Well, we want everybody to have the PubSafe mobile app because that tracks people whether they have a vehicle or not, right? That gives true visibility. But there are going to be systems out there like the GeoTab platform that are going to bring additional value. They may be tracking a generator or something like that is going to be deposited in the neighborhood. I was in one of these recent events. Somebody told me that they had a stadium full of generators that just disappeared. No idea where they went. And if you know what a generator costs, $20,000 to $40,000, you can imagine hundreds of generators just disappearing out of the blue. A, they're getting stolen like crazy, and B, they just don't know where they drop them, right? So being able to track those assets is hugely important. Potentially, we could even do something in the PubSafe app where, when an asset is dropped, we could create something that would mark that location as an asset marker, and incident commander would be able to gather up those resources if those resources weren't being tracked, let's say from a GeoTab asset tracker. But as we get more demand for telematics integrations, we'll just simply add more and more customers to this. Verizon Connect, Samsara, Sperion, all those different companies that are out there. We'll add those in here, and you just basically go in and type in your credentials, and you can enable or disable this, and we'll allow this data to come in for short periods of time in relation to an event without any additional fees. At some point, if it was going to stay in there, obviously we would charge an additional fee. Next we have is a custom menu, and this menu down here is specific to your organization. You can create these types of entries and add them to the menu in the portal. So there are going to be things that are of interest to you, that are unique to your organization. Maybe it's connecting to your specific social media or some other resource that you want to make available to everybody. You can go in here and you can add a custom menu to the web portal, and it will only show up for your organization. So really helping you guys get to the information that's most important to you. Additionally, we have member management in here. We have member groups. We have member lists. We have pending joins and join approvals and things like that. So this whole administrative process to incorporate people into the organization. These are all just internal users. Here's actually the GeoTab telematics device that we brought in, right? So here's another GeoTab device, and those are going to be displayed on the map along with the information, the user information as well. But there'll be org level, org type entries, so we can restrict the visibility on those, so not everybody sees those. And then we have joins that are here. Right, been improved, somebody got rejected for some particular reason, there's the QR code, you can copy it, you can put it in an email, you can take a picture of it, you can text it. If someone can copy and paste this and text it, and then they can enter it on the other side, you can enter an email address, whatever those things are, you are just given all these different options for joins. Keep in mind that you can reset this. If you hit that, then every invitation that is out there that's pending is going to be canceled, and you can start over, because once you release a QR code, you can't control it, right? So you may want to do a QR code for a short period of time, reset it, and then issue a new one for future events. Next we have is events, and these are org level events. If you remember, in the mobile app, you would have seen John Doe search. So if you have a training event on a weekend and you want to create an event, or if you have a local lost person recovery, maybe a rescue, something like that, you can come in here and you can add an event. And what happens is when a user selects that organization in the PubSafe mobile app and they are a member of that organization, the org events that you enter here are then going to appear in the mobile app. They can then select that event, and then we're starting to associate data with activity for a particular event. We've got a lot of work to do with the analytics and giving that information back to you, but this is the beginning of that entire process. So utilize org events, and then as we get better at this, we'll give you more and more visualization and feedback and more tools that you can use for improving not only training or other types of activities that you guys are involved in. And then we get into permissions. The permission structure is the most robust that I've ever seen constructed. We really went above and beyond to try to come up with all the different scenarios, and it's something that we'll have to help you with. We'll help you get set up. We've got some defaults in there, and then you can kind of go crazy from there, creating all this custom schema type stuff. So know that there's just a lot of flexibility, and when you utilize groups and permissions, it controls what people can see. You don't want everybody having access to the dispatching menu and functionality. So a typical member wouldn't even see the dispatching menu when they log in because they don't have the right role. And then we get into, what's your particular user, what are your join requests. As a PubSafe Plus user, you can get into the portal, but you can't join an organization. You can't use organization type tools. But you still have a user profile. You could look and see if you've got pending join requests. You could see, the orgs that you are part of, and then you could look at your particular profile. Last two, or this menu here, is internal to us only. So up in the top right-hand corner, are there messages that are specific to you, missions that have been assigned to you, things of that nature. So that really wraps up the functionality of the PubSafe web portal. It is a lot. We built it to be as robust as necessary for NGOs to do the things they want to do, and it is only about a third of what we have on the roadmap for future functionality. And I'll just tell you, the stuff that is planned is just as exciting and going to change how NGOs, FBOs, and the government all work together, and the data that we can collect and provide in real time to all parties that are operating in these environments. So I want to say thank you for your attention. This has been a very long video, but for those that are interested, this kind of full-length video is important to you to help you understand that this is a good decision to utilize the PubSafe platform, because nothing else is out there is like this. So thank you, and please send us your feedback through the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you are ready to join, everybody gets a 90-day free trial with an organization. You got to get the PubSafe app. You got to get the Pro version, which we are going to release in the next couple weeks. It's August 5th today, so I would say by the 21st-ish, we should have the Pro version out, and then you can come in and get going. So we've kind of lowered the standard right now so we can get orgs registered without having a pro version because we know we haven't released it yet. So go ahead and submit your application for your organization. We'll take a look at it. Everything looks good, then we'll approve it, and then you can come in and start looking at the portal functionality, even though the mobile functionality won't have caught up just yet until we get that released on. So again, thank you very much, and come see us. And we are really excited about working with you and changing how this whole thing gets done. Thank you.